Good morning, everybody. Could I please ask the board members to just stand so that they can see your beautiful faces? All of our activities going. And we are going to have our election of officers. So please join me in welcoming Nora Cloud, who's going to yell that event for us.
Good morning. I'm part of the nominating committee. These are the nominations for the League of Women Voters, Citrus County slate of officers for 2025-2026. Can everyone hear me? The nominating committee if you would please stand or raise your hand as I speak your name. Nominating committee members include Jan Hall. So one more thing, we have to expedite this meeting, so I am going to ask that we hold our applause to the end. Mary Hedges, Nora Cloud. The nominating committee submits the following nominees for the 2025-2026 slate of officers. First president, Vicky Iozia. Second president, Margaret Primo. First vice president, Rosemary Millis. Second vice president, Jan Hall. Secretary, Jean Messersmith. Treasurer, Deborah Stager. I will now read the slate of officers recommended by the nominating committee. Vicky Iozia has been nominated for first president. Are there further nominations for the office of first co-president? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of first president are closed. All those in favor of Vicky Iozia for the office of first president, please say aye. All opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Vicky Iozia is elected for the office of first president. Jay Pringer has been nominated for second president. Are there further nominations for the office of second president? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of second president are closed. All those in favor of Margaret Primo for the office of second president, please say aye. All opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Margaret Primo is elected for the office of second president. Rosemary Millis has been nominated for the first vice president. Are there further nominations for the office of first vice president? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of first vice president are closed. All those in favor of Rosemary Millis for the office of first vice president, please say aye.
Right.
All those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Rosemary Millis is elected for the office of first vice president. Jan Hall has been nominated for second vice president. Are there further nominations for the office of second vice president? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of second vice president are closed. All those in favor of Jan Hall for the office of second vice president, please say aye. No. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Jan Hall is elected for the office of second vice president. Jean Messersmith has been nominated for the secretary. Are there further nominations for the office of secretary? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of secretary are closed. All those in favor of Jean Messersmith for the office of secretary, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no.
No. That's a hard thing.
Spouse abuse. The ayes have it, and Jean Messersmith is elected for the office of secretary. I need one for treasurer, don't I? Deborah Stager has been nominated for treasurer. Are there further nominations for the office of treasurer? Hearing none, the nominations for the office of treasurer are closed. All those in favor of Deborah Stager for the office of treasurer, please say aye. All opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Deborah Stager is elected for the office of treasurer. This ends the election of officers. Let's have a round of applause for the League of Women Voters of Citrus County offices. Thank you.
Thanks, Nora.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nora. Round of applause for Nora. Thank you so long. We're going to have to do it from now on. At your table, you should have a reminder which tells you some of the many things that are coming up. If you do not have one, if you need one, raise your hand. We'll make sure that you get it. We also have petitions. If you have not received the petitions, I think you got them when you checked in. If you need petitions, let Peg know. And Peg will let Jean know. Let Jean know. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, and I've been excited about this for a while. Some people get elected because they're popular. Some people get elected because they're qualified, well qualified. And in this case, we have a sheriff who is both. You didn't even say anything. Let me tell you about Sheriff David Vincent. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Florida Gulf Coast University, associate of science degree in criminal justice from the College of Central Florida, FBI National Academy, administrative officers course, Southern Police Institute, University of Louisville, and listen to this experience. 27 years of service with the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. Communications officer, patrol deputy, narcotics detective, sergeant, school resource officer, administrative sergeant of the patrol division, lieutenant education and professional standards, director of the Citrus County Public Safety Training Center, captain, education and professional standards, captain of the patrol division, captain of the special operations division, Citrus County School District, police chief for 4 years, and has been elected sheriff of the Citrus County in 2024. And we're all out of time now. But let's welcome Sheriff David Vincent.
Camera. Can't go too far. Get out of the camera's view. So thank you, Vicki, for that great introduction. That took my first 5 minutes of my speech, though. So, but no. So for that was a great recap of myself. But just to add a little bit to that, I am a Florida native. I was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. I graduated from high school down there at Pinellas Park, Florida, and moved. I met my wife in 1990. Yeah, 1990. Back there, I graduated high school in 1989 down there, and I met my wonderful wife in 1990. And I was working and going to school down there. I was at St. Pete Junior College at the time in the criminal justice program, which was a 2-year program to get your degree and go to a police academy. My parents were living up here, my mother and my stepfather, and they said, hey, there's this police academy at Withlacoochee Technical Institute at the time. It wasn't college, it was institute. And they said, you can be done in 6 months and working. So I was working full time, going to college full time. So Angel and I, this is my wife Angel, if you haven't met her yet, we decided that, hey, I really wanted to get to work. I knew from an early age, I would say probably about the age of 14, I knew I wanted to be a police officer. So I wanted to get to work. So we moved to Citrus County. It was probably the best decision that we had made, moving from Pinellas to Citrus. Fast forward to 30 years, here we are today, and have the opportunity to be your sheriff. So I've had a great career at the sheriff's office. The thing that I look back and all of the great opportunities that this community has given me to work and serve here, and the people that I've got to know over the last 32 years here, has really been a blessing for me. It has really set me up, I hope, for success as the 13th sheriff here in Citrus County. So a great ride for me. I tell people all the time, when I decided to retire back in 2020, there were some certain factors that helped me make that decision, but I never thought I was going to leave the Citrus County Sheriff's Office throughout my career. I was hired by Sheriff Charles Dean back in 1993, and I was thankful for the opportunity that he gave me. Like Vicki said, Sheriff Dean at the time did not hire you to be a road patrol deputy. You either had to start in the communications division or you had to start in the jail. He ran the jail back in 1993. So I didn't have a correction certification, so I decided to go to the comm center. Again, probably one of the best decisions that I made in my career because I learned so much about our communication center in the little over the year that I was there. It really helped me be successful when I became a road patrol deputy in those things. When I say I didn't think I would ever leave there, I was a career guy. I said, hey, that sure gave me that opportunity. I love the place that we live, and I'm going to do my career here. But I always say things happen for reasons. So back in 2020, I had that opportunity. I had known the superintendent of schools at the time, which was Ms. Sam Hibble. I had met her long before that in my school resource officer things as a young deputy in the school resource officer program. And I was building those, unbeknownst to me at the time back then, I was building those relationships that would later help me in the future. So I had the opportunity to leave the sheriff's office in 2020, and I will tell you, it was the best decision that I had ever made. Especially when I looked to take the role of sheriff of this county. When I left, it gave me a different perspective about my career, how we handle things at the sheriff's office. You always hear about people, well, you reflect back on the things that you did. I really did that. And I said, hey, there was things that we did well. There's things that we didn't do so well. I had the opportunity to work for 4 sheriffs now. I saw what we've done right, saw what we didn't do right, and I hope not to repeat those mistakes. So when I tell people like, hey, I'm glad I left the sheriff's office, they kind of look at me. But it wasn't that I wanted to leave the agency because I love that agency. The reason I thought that was a good idea is because of that perspective. It gave me that great perspective to say, hey, I was able to step away. Believe it or not, people really tell you what they think when you're not working there. So it was good for me to hear those things because while you're in it, I will tell you, spending almost 28 years there, you think the world revolved around the sheriff's office. When I left, I realized that most people really don't care what's happening at the sheriff's office unless something's happened to them and they need our help. But when you're in it, you think the entire world is revolving around you and everybody's got their eyes on you. But in reality, it's not really like that, So there's a lot of great things happening in our community, and it doesn't revolve around the sheriff's office. We just need to be ready to answer that call when the public needs our help. So my career, I did that 4 years at the school district. Again, I was so glad that I made that decision because it also helped prepare me for having that other perspective about other agencies. I was part of the executive team at the school district talking about budgets and all the things that it takes to protect our 2,600 staff members and 16,000 students every day on our campuses. So when we talk about school safety or you hear me talk about school safety, that is one of the most important things to me. I think that we need to have a good, robust security in our school district to protect our children that are out there because that's who we hope are going to take care of us at some point in our lives and also our staff there. I've always said to be successful in education, you've got to feel safe at school. If you don't feel safe at school, you're not going to learn in school. So I really embrace that. The last 4 years, we put some great technology in place to help when it comes for the worst case scenario days, when it comes to like active assailant situations and things like that. I hope that we never have to experience that here, but I do feel that our school district is in a great spot today from the efforts that we've been able to achieve there. So I thought about what I was going to talk about today a little bit, and things that I experienced about when I returned to the sheriff's office. I'm just going to grab my notes here. So a lot of people ask me, well, what did you expect? Was it what you expected when you got back? And one of the things that I'm most excited about is the employees were excited. I worked for our previous sheriff for 4 years. I understood him as a person, and I can tell you that the employees were more ready for change than I realized. The employees, I will be honest with you, had enough. They were ready for change. They wanted someone that they could relate to, and I think that I hope that what I bring to the table of our agency is that I can relate to almost every position in that sheriff's office because I've sat in the seat and done that job. I've done every job from 911 operator up to the captain level at the sheriff's office and command staff. And I think that they appreciate someone that can understand the things and the struggles that they're going through, whether it's a patrol deputy, a detective, a school resource officer, all of those things. So the employees are excited, just so you know. The one thing that I experienced a little while I was worked for our previous sheriff for 4 years, but had gotten worse in the last 4 years, is that no one felt empowered to do their job. They were so micromanaged that they could not send emails, they couldn't talk to people outside the agency without approval from the sheriff. So that is a kind of a breath of fresh air amongst the employees. I hear that almost daily, like just the thanks for just letting them do their job. It's like our finance director. We're in budget. This is budget week for us. So we have meetings literally every hour and a half with our divisions talking about budget this week. But our finance director was not allowed to talk to the finance director at the Board of County Commissioners. And I said, that's not a good place to be because those are the two people that need to work those things out so that they can give direction to myself as the sheriff, as a constitutional, to the Board of County Commissioners. That's how you work things out and fix problems and obstacles. You've got to have those conversations. If you pay attention to local politics and watch our Board of County Commission meetings in the last 4 years, 8 years, you'll see that it was very obvious that no one ever talked before those meetings happened. And I've watched sheriffs in my history, and the master of this was Jeff Dawson. He knew the answer 99% of the time before he ever set foot in that Board of County Commission office because he sat with every commissioner and talked about his budget, said what he needed. Now, they didn't always agree. And I remember some years that was, it's sheriff's getting a little tense up there. But he always took the time to have the conversations. And I've told our current board the same thing, that we're not always going to agree on everything. I'm going to have priorities that I need, and you might say, hey, we can't do that this year. But my promise to them is that I always sit at the table and have that conversation with them, whether I agree with them or not, because that's how we move things forward. It's not about me in the office that I hold. It's about preparing this community for the next person after me and make sure that I'm leaving the sheriff's office in a better spot than what I found. So that's my goal. And in order to do that, you've got to go out and have those conversations. So when I first got in office, if you followed anything about my transition, there was zero. I got the keys on the first day there on January 7th. That was my first day back in the building there. It was a crazy busy day because that was the day I got sworn in. And we literally, with our executive team, entered that morning. It started at 4:45 at roll calls for patrol division swearing people in. But I created an executive team, and I thought it was important for me to have a couple of people surrounding me that would give me some guidance. So we restructured the sheriff's office, and I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But one very important office that we created was the Office of Community Engagement and Transparency. And David Colorado, can you not remember that? So I stole it back from Hernando County, and they retired in 2020, the same year I did, as the captain over the emergency management division. He was the EM director. So we're glad to have him back. But it's so important to me that the public wants to know what it is that we're doing. We talked a lot about transparency to make sure that we're doing that. And it's important enough to me that I made a whole division title. So there's a lot of good things getting ready to come out from them. We restructured the command staff there and began working on our organizational structure. One thing that the previous administration had done is our organizational structure had gotten like a spaghetti model of a hurricane. We had sworn guys overseeing support people overseeing sworn people. And when I say sworn, that's your law enforcement folks out there. So I told our staff when I took office, I said, look, I want our organizational structure to make sense when anyone looks at it. You've got the support side of the house, and then you've got the law enforcement side of the house. I want cops doing cop stuff, and I want our support staff doing support stuff. So we really worked hard in that first 30 days to get that structure going. So I'm going to talk about campaign when we did that because I printed out my notes from what month did we do the League of Women Voters last year? It was April. Okay, so these are my notes from a year ago. So I printed them out this morning because I wanted to look back and say, what did I talk to the League of Women Voters about last year? So the first couple, I'm just going to hit the highlights. The first highlight was transparency that we talked about, especially when it comes to our budget. I told our county commissioner with the lack of transition, I don't think I'll be able to produce the document that I want to produce in the years to come, but they're going to have a very clear roadmap of what our budget looks like, where we're spending our money. And it's really going to look like program-based budgeting. So they know like, hey, this is, let's say, the school resource officer division. Here it is. Here's what it costs to do it. Here's what the salaries are. Here's what the equipment costs. And we're going to have that for them. So there's no question about when I ask for money, where that money is going. So transparency is a big thing for me, as I've already stated. The next thing that I highlighted in my talking points from last year was community partnerships. I can tell you that we have done a great job, in my opinion, so far. My wife will tell you that I'm not home very much because I'm out doing things in our community, being engaged in events. That is something that the previous administration was very selective and didn't do a whole lot of. And I have said from day one, our sheriff's office has got to have a seat at every table in this community, whether it's a homeowners association meeting, whether it's a business community meetings, all of those things, in order for us to be a good partner and know what's happening in our community. So community partnership, thank you. So community partnerships are a big deal to me. And then that led into my next highlighted thing was community policing. I'm a big believer in community policing. Back in the mid-90s, when we started community policing here in Citrus County, there's only a few of us left at the sheriff's office that really experienced that from the ground up. I will tell you, there's a lot of young men and women in our sheriff's office and a lot of police agencies across this nation that have no idea what community policing looks like. So we're going to revisit that topic, but it is going to look a little bit different. It's not going to look like the community policing of the 1990s. One, because we've had huge improvements in technology and the way that we interact and can interface with certain things. So I had this vision of a thing that I wrote a research paper on a long time ago, and I coined it Comtel. And I told the people who knew about it, don't take that. I'm gonna copyright that name because and what it is, it's a combination of community policing and intelligence-led policing. Everything that we do as police, as an organization, I consider gathering intelligence. When we sit at a homeowners association and hear about those problems at a homeowners association, the Chamber of Commerce meetings, whatever that is, we're bringing that data back and saying, hey, this is what they've identified as a problem. To us in law enforcement, that's intelligent. It helps us create action plans about how to fix problems. So I want to see something that I've coined Comtel implemented, and we'll get there shortly. So community policing is another big thing, and I'll talk about where we're headed with that. Traffic enforcement and education. Traffic is a big deal. Hopefully you've seen our efforts. I've got some numbers here in some of my points. But, I tell everybody, a lot of people go, oh, you just want to write tickets to make money. We don't make pennies on a ticket. I mean, if people think we're writing tickets to make money, they are sadly mistaken because we don't make a lot of revenue when it comes to a ticket. Our goal with traffic enforcement is to reduce fatalities. That is my number one goal is I do not want to see people killed on our roadways. Unfortunately, this morning we had a traffic crash with a fatality here on Homosassa Trail. It's unfortunate for that family. We don't want to experience those things. So when we catch flack about traffic enforcement, like, oh, you're just writing tickets to write tickets. We're writing tickets to get people's attention to slow down, first of all, stop driving distracted, stop driving aggressively, and be a little bit more patient. I've always told everyone, patience goes a long way when it comes to traffic and how you drive. Leave 5 minutes earlier. How hard is that, right? Get out of the shower a few minutes earlier, get yourself going so you're not bobbing and weaving out of traffic and making it not a good situation for everyone else out there. So traffic enforcement, when I got there, there's positions that have been held open in our traffic unit for over 3 years vacant. They didn't fill them because they filled it with other things. So we were down in an 8-man traffic unit. We were down to 5 traffic units for the entire county here in Citrus County. So when we got back in, I made sure that we started rebuilding that. I think we have one vacancy in traffic now. But the one thing I did is how do I get immediate bodies to start enforcing traffic? I had 8 canine guys. So I combined the traffic and canine units. So now I have a total of 16 positions that are dedicated to traffic. And with the restructure, we moved a lieutenant over that division to make sure that they're carrying out the things that we think are important when it comes to traffic enforcement. And then my last bullet was narcotics. So unfortunately, the previous sheriff really liked his narcotics unit. He promoted everyone out of the narcotics unit before I took office. He left 1 sergeant and 1 detective out of 8 in the narcotics division. So I've got to rebuild the narcotics division. We just had interviews for detectives this week to try to get them back in there. But a big portion of my career and that guy sitting over there, he was my sergeant in the narcotics unit. I understand what narcotics enforcement looks like. Unlike the previous guy that held this office, I know where we need to go with that, but I've got to rebuild our narcotics division. My goal is to have a phased approach when it comes to that. We've obviously got to recognize what our community is dealing with when it comes to that, but also having people that are trained for certain levels. I want people that are focused on the long-term investigations, your high-end dealers, you've got the middle of the road kind of dealers, and then you've got your what I call the nickel and dimers down here that are just usually feeding their habits by selling drugs and stuff like that. I understand that world. Again, we just have to rebuild our narcotics unit to get us to where we need to be. All right. So we already talked about traffic enforcement with moving that lieutenant. Some of the things that when it comes to transparency, I had a great meeting with the Chronicle editorial board a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about all kinds of stuff for almost an hour and a half, I think it was. I got a couple of calls and texts after I left that meeting, and it was really just thanking me to say, we can't thank you enough about just having an open dialogue with us in the media because we haven't experienced that in quite a long time. And I kind of laughed at it because they said that every question they would ask of the previous guy, he would always say, that's operational security. I can't tell you that. Well, there's some things that maybe we won't tell you, but when it comes to the number of deputies that are out working every day, I'm going to tell you that because I don't think it's enough. And I want the public to know that I don't think it's enough and that we need more of them. So if you don't share that kind of information, how are you ever going to make progress in educating people of what our needs are? So I was very thankful to get those messages after the editorial board, but that to me was a great example of, just a different air amongst the sheriff's office and how we're communicating with the public. The weekly wrap-ups. Has anybody seen my weekly wrap-up videos?
Oh, yeah.
A few. So if you don't follow us on social media, if you have social media, please follow us. I tried doing a weekly wrap-up every Friday that posts at 6 p.m. on Fridays, and it kind of just gives a recap to a couple of the highlights that we've experienced in the week. I really like to highlight some of the work that we're doing by some of our employees out there if good things have happened that week. If we've got trends happening, things that are happening over the weekend, like this weekend, we have the Nature Coast Bike Fest in Inverness. We're going to have thousands of motorcycles added to our roads this weekend over in Inverness, and they'll probably be riding throughout the county. So making sure that everybody's aware of that, please take time, have patience with motorcycles. But the weekly wrap up covers some of those things. Things to come when it comes to rebuilding our website that I heard a lot about campaigning was crime data. People want to see like where is crime happening. We have a mapping system right now that I'm not very happy with as far as what information gives to the public, and it's not very visible. You've got to dig through our website to try to find the crime mapping. So we're really working hard to get with our web design person to get that more forward facing on our website, but also get you better information about what those are. I think we can do a better job on that. And then again, just easier access to the data. One thing that I will tell you, I hear a lot about is people want to see arrest records and who got arrested and all those things. So just to give you a tidbit of information on that, there's some Supreme Court case law right now that some states have filed and was successful, not in our district, but about posting people's arrest photos prior to them being convicted. They think it was a violation of their rights to post their arrest photos because they haven't been convicted of the crime yet. They were just arrested for it. So we're kind of exploring that a little bit because there are two sheriff's offices that I know of in the state of Florida that stopped putting the photos on their website based on that. So I've got mixed opinions on some of those things, but we'll explore that more. But again, I want to be as open with that information as I can without putting us in a bind legally and setting us up for litigation on that. So let's talk about customer service real quick. So one of the things that if you've heard me out on the campaign trail, I've always said my expectation as a citizen and what I think your expectation of a citizen is whenever you need us, that you should expect a professional looking, a professional acting deputy sheriff to help you fix whatever problem that you're facing at the time. So customer service is a big deal to them. And it's through every layer of our sheriff's office. It's not just for the men and women that are out there answering the calls. It's from the time you call our 911 center to the time you call our front desk and to people throughout our agency. I expect a high level of customer service. So I coined this and people looked at me the first day because in my briefings from day one, I told them I want to be the Publix of law enforcement. And they're like, Publix? Yeah. And they're like, are we going to smokes and aprons and stuff? No, I said, no. I said, so what does that mean to me when I say that? Why does Dave Vincent go to Publix? Because when I walk in the door of Publix, I get a cart that works. The wheels don't wobble. The store is clean. The employees are dressed professionally and they treat me professionally. That's why I go to Publix. So that should be the standard that we set for ourselves. Because in the grocery world, you guys have choices. You can go to Winn-Dixie. Now you can go to Aldi's. Yeah, my wife likes Aldi's. But there's choices for you to do that. In our business, there is no other choice for you as a citizen than to call the Citrus County Sheriff's Office when you need help. We have got to get it right every time that we're in front of you. And I expect that high level of customer service. So if you experience something other than great customer service, I would appreciate it if you let us know about that. So we talk about community policing, narcotics, the collaboration between government agencies. If you pay attention to any of our things, we've got some great folks working in our community relations department under Director DiCarlo, and we have some great equipment. Some of our constitutionals don't have the budgets to support some of those things. I've told all of them that if you need our support at the sheriff's office to help push out your information, please let us be a partner with you to do that. I've already done videos with our fire chief, our clerk of courts, Department of Health. We did a video. We saw a rise, and within 2 weeks, we had three babies, 2 months old or less, dies co-sleeping with their parents. So we put out an informational video. So hey, here's the dangers of co-sleeping. So I want to make sure that as government, that we have a unified approach when it comes to educating our citizens. If it's an important topic to the clerk of courts, the Department of Health, that touches our lives because we're usually the ones responding to those things, is I want to make sure that our public sees that we're unified in our messaging. I don't want to be standing on an island by myself doing newscasts with things that affect other people, whether it's city government, county governments, state governments, all those things. So I think moving forward, we should expect to see from me a lot of unified messaging when it comes out to those things that we're doing out there. So it's been 64 days. I got to watch my time. We got to 11:15.
Okay.
It's been 64 days today since I took office. So some of the things that I'm proud of in the first 64 days without having a transition. We've increased that transparency and communication, I think, between the public and the sheriff's office, improving relationships. I can't tell you every time I walk into a door to an organization, one, they're thankful that I'm there, and they're like, "Oh, this is such a breath of fresh air." You know, being able to have that conversation. I tell everybody, I'm just a regular guy. I've been a cop for 32 years. I'm trying to figure politics out. That's a whole nother, right? But I am just like you, just trying to do the right thing for our community, and so I'm really happy with some of the strides that we've made with improving those relationships. Exceptional customer service and maintaining the policies and procedures. We just went through a telecommunicators, which is our 911 center accreditation yesterday. Again, I set that high expectation of customer service, how we interact. Now, granted, they were assessors assessing us, make sure we're doing a good job. But at the end of the day yesterday, we had an exit interview, and they were very complimentary of our staff to say how professional they were when they were asked questions about policies and procedures. And they are recommending us for accreditation in our 911 center. So very proud of that, to the work that those folks did. We completed that agency restructure in less than 30 days, providing that enhanced patrol coverage. Now, here's the number for traffic. We've increased traffic stops 23% in 60 days. So that's good. But I've gotten a few calls like, "Hey, I got a ticket." I'm like, "Sorry, slow it down." Right. Yeah, so people are seeing the activity. I hear that a lot. Like, where did all these deputies come from? And the crazy story about that is people knew what some of my expectations are, but I will tell you, I have not stepped in one roll call with patrol and said, "I want you to go out and do more traffic stops." They know it's important to me. They self did that. They did that themselves. So because I kept like within the first couple of weeks, they're like, "Where did all the deputies come from?" And I'm like, "Well, this is going really well." But the guys took it upon themselves to go out and do their job. Again, I think it's just I told them, "Guys, gals, go do your job," right? If we have issues, we'll address those as we come, but I want you to feel empowered to go do your job. And they've embraced that, and stats are up. So that's a good thing for us. Agency rebranding. I will tell you, there is not a single thing in the sheriff's office that didn't have the previous sheriff's name on it. Literally everything. So we've gone through some rebranding with the way our logo looks and things like that. But that's Director DeCarlo's arena, and he's like, every day there's something new. So, but trying to get the name and replace things that had the previous guy's name on it is quite the task to do. We talked about that. So one of the big things and being transparent with the Board of County Commissioners, if you didn't know that, they set aside $1.9 million out of last year's budget to fund 10 new deputies, but they wouldn't give it to the previous guy. They waited until January to give it to me. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been working really hard on a recruitment program. We could not get good applicants to the sheriff's office. So my thinking is use the money how the county is giving it to you for those positions. We've got the money and salary sitting there. So we should start sponsoring people for their education to become a deputy sheriff if that's their life's goal. Most people cannot quit their job and go to a police academy for 6 or 8 months and survive. So if the county is gracious enough to give us the salary dollars to support that, we started a recruitment program to pay for seats in the next academy, which starts in July. I'm happy to say when we did that, we went from literally less than 10 applicants to 86 applicants in 1 month. So we've got 86 people that want to join the Citrus County Sheriff's Office for 15 positions coming up here in July. So very happy with the results of that. But again, it's what I found was happening is they were holding vacancy. We call it vacancy float. When you don't fill a position, you have extra money on payroll, right? They were holding that and buying other stuff, right? So I don't think that's the right way of doing business. So we fixed that, and we've got a great recruitment program going now. To talk about those events and all that kind of stuff. All right. I feel like I've missed something here. So let me just check.
We'll let you know.
they'll let me know. Yeah, we're gonna save a few minutes for questions. All right, so where are we going in the next 12 to 18 months? Budget. We already talked about budget. Budget's a big deal. I sat through the Board of County Commission meeting for a little bit yesterday when they were talking about board direction. They said all constitutionals get 2.5% increase, and I was like, oh boy, yeah, 2.5%. With our body worn camera implementation, I'll talk about that here in just a second. 2.5% is going to be tight. But I have told all of our division heads that we're going to make sure that we're spending money appropriately. We went back to almost zero-based budgeting this year. They're all pulling their hair out this week with me because I told them don't just regurgitate last year's budget and add 3% or whatever that is on top of it. I want you to justify every number on every line in your budget to make sure that we don't need those extra dollars to go somewhere else in the budget. So budget is a big deal, and hopefully we'll be right in line with our other constitutionals also with getting the things that we need to get done. Improving staffing levels. We are getting more calls for service out there. On an average week, if you watch the weekly wrap-ups, we average somewhere between 3,200 and 3,500 calls for service a week across our county. So it is busy out there. We're going to ask for at least 10 new deputies for the next 2 years to add to the last that they gave us. The good news is about the staffing numbers. I told our Board of County Commissioners 2 years from now, we need to be about 35 positions more to create a third district here in our county. So with the monies that we've saved in this first 6 months of not sending those folks to the academy, because the academies start January and July, we're going to be able to start with 15 instead of the 10, because with the savings that we have, we're going to buy that capital purchase and operating expenses ahead of time. So then next year, we're going to ask for at least 10, and then the year after that will be 10 and get us to that number 35. So good things coming with that. Third district. Ever since I worked here, the county, when it comes to patrolling, is split in two. You got west side guys and you got east side guys. With this growth that we see right here in the center part of our county, we've got to grow with that, and we're going to create a third district called the Central Ridge District. So we'll have 3 districts in the county, but we've got to get our staffing numbers up there. My expectation is that we're responding to calls in a timely manner. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten from people in the last year and a half that are waiting 3-4 hours to get a deputy to their house. To me, that's unacceptable. Now, granted, there's emergencies that happen and we've got to redirect people, but that shouldn't be the norm. You should expect to see someone at your house or your business in a timely manner when you need us, but we need the staffing to do that. And creating that third district will give us about 8 more positions per shift working in the county. So we're working towards that. Contracts. All right, so let me talk about body worn cameras real quick. So this was a big topic on the campaign for me. It is crazy to me that we are in 2025 and there is not a single video recording device in the Citrus County Sheriff's Office with interactions between our deputy sheriffs, detectives, any of that here. I did a big study back in 2016 about body worn cameras, and what I told them at the time is this is going to help our profession more than it will ever hurt our profession. Is it going to occasionally catch people doing the wrong thing? It is. Cops aren't perfect. Lawyers aren't perfect. Doctors aren't perfect. It's going to do that. But the pros to it far outweigh those things. So back in 2016, I presented that to the sheriff at the time, which was Jeff Dawsey. It was the summer of 16, knowing that there was an election happening. He didn't want to commit to that. He wanted to make sure that the next person taking the office was going to make that financial commitment, because it is a big financial commitment. So fast forward, here we are almost 9 years later, no cameras in any cars or on people. So one of my priorities when I got into office was, and I told them that on January 7th, I said, with my command staff, I said, whatever the priorities were with funding and projects on January 6th are no longer the priorities of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. And this is what we need to do. We need to find the money and not go ask the Board of County Commissioners for another penny this year to get a body worn camera program started. Now, I knew what the sticker shock was going to be. It's a little bit more than what I expected, to be honest with you, when I started having the contract discussions with the company. But I will tell you, we are going to be ahead of where I wanted to be, where I didn't think we'd be able to get for another year or two, right out of the gate. So with the work of our staff, and I got to credit our staff because they're the one that really tightened the belts up. We found $385,000 in our budget this year without asking for it from the Board of County Commissioners to get a body worn camera program started. And there will be body worn cameras on deputy sheriffs by June 30th of this year. So, and it's that obviously is a reoccurring cost. What you will learn and what I learned about body cameras, it's not about the camera at all. It's about the storage of the video. It's about the people that support that, the public records requests, redacting the video, blurring people's faces out, all of the things that go with body worn camera programs. It is not cheap. The great thing about it is when it comes to the personnel with our restructuring, we're going to restructure personnel. So we're going to save on some of the personnel costs by re-dividing some divisions and giving people that responsibility, as like in our records department and things like that. So we're going to save some on there to help offset those costs in the years to come. So I will tell you, it's going to cost us about $500,000 a year for body worn cameras to be on our deputy sheriffs and answering the calls for service, but it is money well spent. I promise you that. It is going to give the transparency to the public that they've been asking for. It's going to give the support to our deputy sheriffs to make sure that they're not being accused of doing things that they did not do. That's one of the biggest pluses that I see of that. It's going to eliminate those false accusations against law enforcement. But it also gives the public that transparency of what really happened at that calls for service. So to me, it's a huge win. In addition to the body worn cameras, our traffic units, DUIs, everybody's seen the roadside videos, dash cam videos we don't have dash cams either. I don't know how we're enforcing DUI arrests without roadside video. So the 16 positions that I talked about with the canine and traffic guys that are now in the traffic unit, all of them are, in addition to their body cameras, are also getting in-car video that will help them in that prosecution for driving under the influence. So we're making huge strides when it comes to that. I hope that when the public sees what we're doing, they're excited about that. The technology, I will tell you, is crazy. When we talk about staffing levels, one of the parts of our body worn cameras, it has artificial intelligence built into it. So if you can't hire enough people, you've got to make your people more efficient in the job that they do. So there's the thing that I didn't think we'd be able to get to in a couple of years is this AI technology. It actually writes the report for the deputy sheriff. So if you and I have a conversation about, say it was a criminal mischief, you got your house vandalized, I have the conversation with you, I get back to my car, it uploads the audio portion, not the video, because they don't need the video, it's just the audio. Uploads the audio, it writes a report for you, and you have to proof it. Now, here's the human factor. The deputy still has to say that that's accurate of what he is reporting, and he has to verify that. So there's those safeguards built into that. It happens in about 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So what does that mean for them? So when I started looking into this back almost a year and a half ago, there's some agencies that started reporting about how it's helping improve the officer's time. So they're showing about a 67% increase in efficiency when it comes to actually doing police work and not sitting and writing reports. So it's going to give our guys more time, go out and do more police work, get to calls for service faster because they're not stuck for an hour or two writing a report. That technology is going to help them get there. Now, we're going to have some growing pains, trust me, because AI is not perfect. I know that. But the agencies that are using it are saying that it is a game changer for us and our productivity and the time that our officers are spending writing reports, because writing reports takes a lot of time in our business. So we're excited about those things. All right. I'm getting close. Let me just wrap this up so I can open it to questions. We are talk about community policing, all those things. Last thing I'll talk about, volunteers. So my last position at the sheriff's office was over volunteers. We have gone from almost 800 volunteers down to about 350 volunteers. We had at one time under Jeff Dawsey one of the strongest volunteer bases of any sheriff's office in the state of Florida. At one time we were over 1,000. So I think it'll be hard to get back to 1,000, but I think we can do better than where we're at today. So I see a lot of good volunteer faces, and Volunteers. Yeah, we've got some existing volunteers. Vicky, I just told Vicky a funny story. I said, hey, I was going through my files the other day. Vicky wrote me a recruitment article on volunteers about 5 or 6 years ago that I use. And I said, hey, I just found your thing. She goes, can you send that back to me? I'm going to use it again. So I said, okay, when I get back to the office, I'm going to send it back to you. So we have a ton of volunteer opportunities. We even have a sewing unit at the sheriff's office that helps us with our uniforms. We have volunteers that come in 2 days a week and sew alterations and stuff for our uniforms. Saves us a ton of money. So we have a lot of volunteer opportunities out there. So if you're interested in volunteering with the sheriff's office, please see me. The problem I believe in my heart was that volunteers that have not felt appreciated in the last 4, 8 years. We're going to get back to those. Director DeCarlo again has a big job. Next month is volunteer appreciation. And if you remember a volunteer, you remember some of our big to-dos. We're getting back to the big to-dos again to make sure that our volunteers feel appreciated with a big luncheon and prizes and all those things. So it better be good. Yeah, but that's it. So I just want to say thanks to Legal Women Voters for this opportunity for me to get out. I love doing this about our job. I love talking about our sheriff's office and what we're doing. I want to make sure that you understand that I am here for you. You and your family safety is always on my mind every night that I go to bed. And that is our job. I want to make sure it's every employee at our sheriff's office's job, and they don't ever forget that because you depend on us, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. So every day I'm thinking about that. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and I'm so grateful to this community to give me the opportunity to be the 13th sheriff of Citrus County. And my promise is I will leave this place better than we found. So I'll open that up to any questions that you have.
Dave, could you please repeat the question so that
I
we
will.
get it?
Okay.
And also, we're supposed to serve the food at 11:15.
All right.
If it's okay with everybody, they can serve quietly while you're answering questions. Is that all right?
That's good, everybody. That's good. They'll serve while we're talking still. So yes, I am.
Two detectives out in the library and gave us a talk on fraud and scams and stuff. Now I'm trying to send some information to a lady to get some guest speakers, which is such a common information. It would be a good idea to send to the community centers too. Because we're all speakers.
Yeah, so the question was about some of our guest speakers. We have something called the Speakers Bureau, and I do remember it was Detective Cope and Detective Butte that went out and talked about fraud investigations. One of the things that we're talking about, which is a volunteer program, is our Seniors versus Crime. Um, I One of the things that really just gets my goat and why I think I do this job is I hate people being victimized. Especially if you're elderly, you've got your nest egg, someone takes money from you. Oh, those people need to go to jail. That's all I get to say about that. So our Seniors versus Crime, our fraud unit, goes out and does speaking engagements. So if you're involved in a community that wants to have those speakers, if you were to call the sheriff's office, ask to speak with someone in the Speakers Bureau, you'll probably end up in Dave's shop. You know, it's got a lot of work to do, right? But we'll get someone out to speak to you on whatever topic it is that you.
Mary Darling spoke first.
Okay. Yes. Very good. Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Comment that you make, that's on your website. Or
It's on our Facebook. Yes. Weekly wrap up is on Facebook. So if you go to our website, there's a volunteer section. Now we're redoing the website because it's not the most easy to navigate. But there should be a volunteer section on there that shows you all of our volunteer units. There's got to be 24. 24. That was pretty good. 24.
24 and you can volunteer within the sheriff's office. 14 of those are within our local crime watch areas. Okay. But there's a list of all of what we're doing. We're also trying to revamp the volunteer application page to make it a little more condensed. Right now it's very lengthy. You understand that it's a hold up for a lot of people who want to volunteer with us. So we're trying to condense that to make it a little shorter and easier.
Yeah, our volunteer application was 17 pages, a DNA sample, blood test, It was 17 words. Yeah, we inherited that, and our goal is to get that down to like 1 or 2 pages, because the last thing we want is a volunteer to come in and have to do a 17-page application to volunteer with us. We really just need to make sure you're not a criminal with a criminal history, that's all of that stuff, and that you're have a couple of reference checks that we can do, and we can get you started. So yeah, volunteers. All right, what's next? Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Every single day, and it says the class since January, I knew it was transit, and I just wanted to use this opportunity. When are you gonna do?
Gun safety. So the gun safety program was a grant that we have received to fund those, because we do those on the weekends. So that our training guys work Monday through Friday, so they do that as an extra duty on the weekends. We've got to get the grant funding things figured out before we start doing that. But it is out there. We will get those started again, but stay tuned to the website, because we'll post those dates out there. I'll be the first to tell you, gun safety is a huge deal for me. I want people to have the right, if they want to own firearms, to do that. But I will hear to, as a 32-year law enforcement guy, just because you have the ability to own a gun doesn't mean that you're the right person to own a gun, or you know how to operate a gun. So please, I believe in training. If you own a firearm, the first thing you should do, if you don't know how to operate it, is find someone that does and get the training to do that. More people get injured with firearms because they don't know what they're doing in handling a firearm. So if you want to own a firearm, please go out and educate yourself. The other thing is responsible gun ownership. I can't tell you how many reports we take a year that people leave guns in unlocked cars overnight. They get stolen. Now we've got to deal with another gun on the street out there in a bad guy's hands. So responsible gun ownership and education is a big part of that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. One is going back on the traffic. We are a neighborhood in Convo. We know the neighborhoods, and they cut through our side streets going, speed limit supposed to be 30, 50, 60. Getting ready to make a time take, please put it down. We walk every day. We have our dog, and they just seem to like, we're not even there. So we need, I don't know if they're addressing side streets.
So here's how we handle like neighborhood complaints with some of those things. The question was traffic and speeding in neighborhoods and side streets and things like that. So a lot of times we'll get complaints in some of our larger neighborhoods about speed and things like that. We have devices that, unbeknownst to people, we can put out there attached to a phone pole that records all of that speed data to give us what the real picture is. Because I will be honest with you, if we set a patrol car out there to say, hey, is there anybody speeding? Everybody goes to speed limit, right? Nobody's going to speed. But we got this cool little box that we attach to a pole and nobody knows it's there, and it gives us real data. So if you're having a problem like that, that's an area that we need to get one of those out, say, hey, what's the real picture of this happening? It breaks it down enough, just says times of day where it's heavier. If it's after work, before work, lunchtime, it will give us all of that data so that we can direct our enforcement. As you can tell, we've only got 16 guys for this entire county. We can't be everywhere, so we've got to have good intelligence to how do we direct our resources to make sure we're addressing this problem. So Sergeant Laura Anstead, if you want to write that name down, is over our traffic unit, or Lieutenant Chris Ball is our new lieutenant over that. Either one of those can address those issues for you out in the neighborhood. We can get an actual picture of what's happening. So, got a second question?
Well, I'm secretary of our HOA. We've got 5 neighborhoods. So it's a big complaint when people come to our HOA meetings. The second thing is communications. Being married is communication. So we start there. I think that's very, very, very good. That we do start opening lines of communication and accountability. I mean, I've heard from many neighbors where they call officer out. There is a crime committed, but no report, then they go on their own way.
Yeah, that's previous. You shouldn't expect that moving forward. It goes back to that customer service. We used to have a motto. The question was about communication, customer service. We had a motto that said, "Can't is what we can do." I am so tired of hearing. I heard that they can't do anything. There is always something that we can do. We might not be able to fix that problem today, but we can make a phone call. We can make people aware that need to be aware of that, whatever the issue is. But we've got to stop saying we can't do anything with that. And get back to that can't is what we can use. So again, it's a new culture moving forward, and hopefully it'll address some of those issues like that. Andy LaHarris. So Andy is still in a full-time residential facility. He's had some struggles the last few weeks. He's had some infections and stuff happening with his feeding tubes and stuff. So he's had a hard go of it for the last few weeks. Keep him in your prayers every day out there and his family. It's a long road for him and his family. So we're going to support him in whatever way that we can, and working with his wife Michelle with the benefits and making sure that he gets out there that he needs. We're actually there's a House bill right now that is been presented by Judson Sapp, which is Marion and Alachua, but it's co-sponsored by JJ Grow, our local. It will be called the Andy LaHare Act. And what that does is we're presenting, because there's only 3 classifications previously that if you get hurt in the line of duty, it was intentional criminal, let me think here, intentional criminal, now I just totally drew a blank. Well, there was only 3 classifications. Andy's accident was not one of those 3. So his family does not get medical benefits because he was hurt in the line of duty. So this act is aimed to bridge that gap so that his wife will have lifetime medical coverage, even if he gets separated on disability, and his children will have it until they're 25. So that's coming up. So if you get an ear to a legislator in the House, it's House Bill 751, and make sure that you let him know that you support that.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
wonderful.
That's good.
Thank you for service.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Governor.
It's my honor. Okay.
Right near the Family Resource Center. For a while, we noticed diagonal from our property on 6 acres, that there had been like a footpath under the wood. We've been there now for 5 years. Now we notice that the path is wider for planes are like. And we know by having a house appraised recently, I looked at the map and I said, what is this white big thing on the property of what? So somehow, after all these years, they did get the homeless population moved out of there. So what did they do? They moved across the street from the resource center. I had spoken with my county commissioner, and we decided it was time to get the police involved. So back in November, we did call. No one came out. They said they would do something, and they really did not. So now there are officers. My neighbors are concerned. There's actually, living near there who are fearful. They were fearful to report it to the reduction. Well, enough. I called. Very professionally, officer answered the phone and said, we'll have someone on the way. We said, let's put it on the truck, see how long it takes. A few minutes later, our driveway was blocked by a police officer, and I was like, boy, maybe they were trying to get out of here because we are in standard tree. The officer walked up to the front of the and stood there. My kid and I looked at this tight size, very professional looking person, a female at that. And we're like, well, we're in for it now. She came in and I just want to relate this because it's important that you out there. And she came in, very professional. What do you need? Tell her about the homeless situation. And we asked her why she was bringing the police officer. Her name is Johnny Hughes. Never forget her. KHUU has been in office for 1 year. Unless we had asked her, we would not have known because the professionalism was there. She was there for a few minutes. She took our information, gave us a card, and by the way, the former person's name was on the card. That's it. She said if we had another problem to just be in touch with her. 20 minutes later, she called us back. And she said, I checked with one of my other colony. And they had been out there the day before. Just they had got in touch with the owner of the property. The owner of the property said, you have my permission to remove anyone trespassing. You call me back. She said, look Sunday, after Sunday to stick them back, they are gone. They trespass, since they are gone. We will need to call again because now the trash will be treated that if they but I want. No, my question is, since that was handled so well, you're still my favorite project. Can you get our police officer's son in Orlando that's been there for 20+ years? How do we get them to?
Oh my God, police.
Love recruiting back, especially experienced guys, since we have a very young police force. Thanks for sharing that. For those of you that couldn't hear that, it was an experience about some homeless population across the street and how well our deputy handled that. So we appreciate that. And it's good to hear from a 1 year person that handled that so well. So homelessness is a big topic across our counties. How we're handling that. So I've already had some conversations with our county commissioners on how to address that. There's some talk out there about creating a community for people that are trying to get their lives back in order. And I've always said there's two issues to homelessness, and there's two types of people. You either choose that as a lifestyle, and there's really not a lot of things that we can do to convince those people to do that otherwise, or you're forced into homelessness. I really want to make sure that we're directing our efforts to the people that are forced into homelessness to give them that lift that they need to get out. I will tell you that there's a large population that does not want the help from any entities or anything like that. So it is a very complex problem. There's mental health, substance abuse, all connected with a lot of that. But we're going to work hard with our community partners to try to figure out how to address that, because we don't. I will tell you, I love Junior Bryant to death, but she provided so many resources in Hernando that population really developed in Hernando here in our county. So we just want to make sure that we're not, whatever it is that we're doing is not impacting people and their rights as homeowners and property owners as well. So, all right, other questions? Yes, sir.
There, we legal aid on, was there any?
Yeah, so the question is about illegal aliens. So that is a really hot topic right now with the governor and what we're doing as a state. I will tell you, we don't experience a lot of those here in Citrus County. But what we've done in the last couple of weeks, all of the sheriffs across the state of Florida, all 67, have signed agreements to train our officers to understand how to deal with people that have immigration detainers and stuff. I will tell you from what I've learned in the last 60 days about immigration is that there's 1.4 million criminal illegal aliens in our country. Now, when I say that, those are people that have deportation orders, have committed crimes in our country, and a judge has said you need to be deported. 1.4 million of those. 2 weeks ago, 700,000 of those warrants got dumped into our system. So as Florida, you realize we're a coastal state that works in some of the bigger cities, Miami-Dade, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa might have an influx of running across some of those people. So we have two programs going on. We have what's called a warrant service officer. So if any of those people come into our jail on a local charge, that my deputies will be able to enforce a federal warrant. Right now, local deputy sheriffs cannot enforce immigration civil detainers. So we're getting that training here in the next, probably in the next 2 weeks, we'll have that completed. So we'll have that capability in the jail. The next phase of that it's called street task force. So if a deputy sheriff is out on the street and encounters one of those persons, and they can lawfully detain that person, transport him to our jail. Now it's not a criminal warrant, it's civil. The jail here will hold them for 48 hours until Homeland Security and ICE come to pick them up. So that's the agreement that we've entered. All 67 counties in the state of Florida have done that in the last 2 weeks. So, any other questions? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
lower the age from 21 to 18. Some legislation going. Parents. And energy. So there are organizations that will lose that one day you're on that. So I don't know, you can express an opinion. Now, our sheriff.
So the question was about some current legislation that I have not seen that bill lowering the handgun age from 21 to 18. That's what I know that you can own a shotgun at 18 if you can't own a handgun. So I haven't seen that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't support an 18-year-old being able to go out and I think 21 is a good age and I would support that. As far as open carry, not a fan of that. I traveled and I think it was actually Texas I was traveling in one time, and I'll never forget that experience. I was leaving the airport in a rental car, and a guy came by on a motorcycle, and he had two big revolvers hanging off his waist, and I suddenly realized I was in a state that was open carry, and I don't think that that's the best look for us as a city. So not a big fan of open carry. I do support gun rights and gun ownership. But I think that we've got to have some regulations on it. So I think as we see, and I hate to sound like the old guy, like when I started, but today's 18-year-old is not the 18-year-old of 30, 40, 50 years ago when it comes to responsibility. So I think 21 is still a good age for obtaining ownership. Yes, ma'am.
Well, two questions. Number one, for mental health and de-escalation as to training of recruits and also new hires. Second thing is a woman called me and said, I can't make the meeting. She has traffic problems between Cardinal and Homosassa Trail. The thing that she's talked about, witnessing a Humvee with a SWAT team emblem, kind of handgun. It said Citrus County SWAT team. Are you concerned about militia training in our woods or with all the proliferation of guns? I wonder if the militias that are out there that we don't even know about.
So I'd be curious if she saw it's called the Bearcat. It's an armored vehicle that our SWAT team does have. You could probably mistake it for a Humvee, but it's an armored vehicle. Do I support that for our SWAT team? I absolutely do. It provides them that armor protection. When they're doing a lot of high risk search warrants and those kind of things, we need that equipment. Do I think that the public needs equipment like that? No, I don't. I think that there's a purpose for those kind of things. So I think that we've got to regulate what that has. Hopefully what that person saw was our truck, not someone's hand painted SWAT team on the side. But our truck does say Citrus County SWAT on the side. It's green. If it was green, it was probably ours. So, but back to your question about militias and things like that. People form groups, and again, I want everyone to have the right to do the things that they want to do as long as it's lawful and done legally. Do I think that citizens are we at a point that our citizens need to enhance our law enforcement or military services? No, especially here in Citrus County. So I think we do a pretty good job. Rosemary.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but since a couple people asked about gun safety, I'm so glad you supported Sheriff. And I just want the audience, most of our members know we as a league also support secure storage. We call Safe Storage Save Lives, Saves Lives. It's League of Women Voters of Florida initiative that we carry through. So I thank you for that and hope that we can help to promote that message with you in any way that you like. But then I just had a quick question. Did I hear you right to say that we had a couple of infant deaths co-sleeping? Could you just tell a little more? That's just shocking.
The question was about co-sleeping. So what is co-sleeping? It's when a parent sleeps with their infant child in the bed with them. They don't put them in the crib to go to bed. So what typically happens, unfortunately, is the parents are moving at night, forget that the child's there, and they suffocate the child. It was probably that we didn't have one last week. About 2 weeks ago, we had 3 in a span of 2 weeks. So trying to educate our public, young parents, you got a lot of young parents out there making sure that they realize that that's a bad idea, making sure that they get the resources that they need. What we did with the Department of Health was to make sure that there's so many free resources out there. Some families can't afford a crib. They might need a crib, so we've got resources to get them cribs. And just educating folks on the dangers of that, because it's so unfortunate. I feel for the families first and foremost, but our officers are responding to those situations too. They're seeing 2-month-olds. It seems it's not a good thing for us either. So the best we can do is educate people and hope that our message gets out there for them. So,
I think we're gonna let you eat.
all right, Vicky says I need to eat now. So again, I can't thank Vicky enough.
Yeah, oh good, smiling face.
Again, thanks again for having me. I don't take this responsibility lightly. I'm a sheriff for every person in this community, and just want to make sure that our men and women are doing a good job for you. And if there's anything that I can ever do for you, please let me know. And thanks for the support. We appreciate it.
Let's do the questions from the newsletter. How many of you have read the newsletter? That's all?
Yeah, said there'd be some mystery thing.
Yes, I have 2 questions. Now I'm gonna have to make a rule. If you have already received a bag because you knew what was in the newsletter, you cannot receive another one. But you are officially a smarty pants. So the first question, what is the Board of County Commissioners, Rebecca Bays, working on for our 2026 election? I'll read it again. What is Board of County Commissioners Rebecca Bays working on for our November 2026 election? Dot, was that a hand?
It's the one group and
The one, you said the 1 cent tax? That is correct. Rosemary's gonna bring that to you. Good job, Dot. And the second one is, how will the SAVE Act threaten voting rights of Americans? The SAVE Act, SAVE. Yes. You want to come up here, please? So everybody can hear.
Certificate must match your identification to vote. In my case, as a married woman, my birth certificate does not match my ID. So I am concerned that I won't be able to vote anymore.
Well, you know about the SAVE Act. Come on up and get your bag. Can she please have a round of applause? She not on the wrong one.
More concerning, when I call our representatives or I speak to somebody, they say that's not true. It's not in there. You could read it in print.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody enjoy your meal. We will have some announcements from board members after we get the chance to digest them. Laura would like to do the 50-50. So if you have tickets, please take them out.
Yes, this time we need a couple moments of silence for the lucky winner. And we've asked Mrs. Vincent to be our guest picker. So get your tickets out and get ready to be lucky.
But let's go. All right, stick one out of there. Right. Okay.
Four, 5, 6, 2, 2, 9. Yeah.
Glad you covered. I like it.
Haven't even added it.
We have some board members who have some announcements, so if you just please come up to the microphone and can make announcements.
I'll be first. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, thank you to the couple of people who mentioned.
Right up and go loud.
Thank you. It's working.
Yes.
It's pretty enough. All right. Well, at any rate, somebody here mentioned that there was a House bill, a Senate bill to lower the age to purchase handguns from 21 to 18. There is, that's right. And I don't remember the number. There's some really good bills being proposed, and there's some really awful bills being proposed. One of the ones that we're concerned about, do you see those petitions in the back of the room? The right to clean water, the Medicaid expansion. Those are citizen petitions. Peggy's holding them up. There is a bill, HB 1205, would make it impossible for you to get something on the ballot, for us to have petitions, for you to sign them in order to make our voices heard and let the voters decide. SB 14, our own place in Bully about that bill, it would do the same. So my point in this, I'm not going to list all the good bills and bad bills, but to tell you, watch for the League of Women Voters of Florida newsletters and action alerts. Watch for them. When they say make calls, or it's obviously your choice. And you don't like a bill, or if you do like a bill, you need to let your legislators know. So some of them are listed on the back of your little reminders. Not knowing that it was computer, I also printed larger font. The names and email addresses of our state and federal legislators. Let them know what you think, whatever the topic is. There's plenty happening at the federal level as well. Our senators are Rick Scott, Ashley Moody. Our representative is Gus Billaracis. So put their numbers in your phone. If you have a cell phone, put their numbers in your phone and you can call them in it and just let them know what you think they need to hear from us. Whatever your opinion is, we're not telling you what to think, but just your job to engage citizens is to let them know. So watch for emails from the league. Don't let them fall into your spam. Our Facebook page will keep you a little bit aware. And I'm going to put in the plug for our local newspaper, the Citrus County Chronicle. Read the paper. You know what's going on with county pictures. You'll know which one was the one sent back. You'll know what's going on at the state level, and you'll know what's going on at the local level. So I don't work in legal, but I can't imagine living as a citizen of this county without reading it and knowing what's going on. So again, this is how you know about issues. And really, that's all I want to say. You do have on your reminders the information about our April meeting with Rachel Kaufman, Title IX, and I also brought a few flyers about database on our Zoom meetings. So on here, first, we do have a flyers about how to join our Zoom meeting, learn more about that penny tax. Our Zoom meeting is March 26th. It's called What a Penny Can Do. Okay, so thank you, everybody. I'm so glad to so many today. So I want to announce total that we raised in the 50-50 was $235. So the 50-50 was $117. And Todd has donated it back to the League of Women Voters.
Hello, everybody. This is Nancy Plato, the Natural Resources Chair. It's been serving
capacity. If you are interested in this type of work, following what's going on, requiring to just see me. Terry brought your attention to the petitions on the table. If any questions about the right to clean water, please see you have mentioned it. Also, what the state we in energy action team, we have monthly Zoom calls. Our next one is March 19th. They're also on the third Wednesday and the club. And Solar United Neighbors, if you remember, we did had two solar clubs here in Citrus County, where people will join the Solar United Neighbors group. And they got good prices on their solar for Solar United Neighbors now. Means that you would have opened on so that what he did. Solar United Neighbors, what conversation. I could have your attention please for a moment. That would be great. Thank you, everyone. So our clean energy call will be for the state league will be March 19th at 5. And Solar United Neighbors who helped us have 2 solar pull-ups here in Citrus County. We'll be rolling out a new solar pull-up program. It's called Solar Switch. And we would be members of the Gulf Coast Solar Switch Group. So we invite you to join that meeting. I send invitations to all the members, and if you want an invitation to those kinds of meetings, please see me and give me an email, and if you have it, add you to the list. Also on the legislative session, we have good and bad bills, as Rosemary mentioned to you. One thing is continue to follow the bills, to follow the Florida Springs Council website. So all you need to do is Google that, Florida Springs Council, their site will come up. You can sign up for action alerts there. You can also follow the Friends and Friends of Florida website. And our clean energy action team will send out action alerts. That's what we're going in the session of anything to bring to attention. One bad bill that came up that unfortunately passed its first committee this week is the auxiliary containers bill, and it would prevent people. It would prevent things that the Rainbow River had banned from you carrying plastic like water bottles when you go out in the kayak. They had that. They protected their river. And this auxiliary container bill would undo local things like that that are already in place to protect our environment. So, Ian, if you have any questions you want to see me, I'm seeing a little bit too. Thank you for your attention. Okay, folks, our next meeting is at the Coastal Community Library. And he's going to feature Rachel Lumen to talk about Title IX. Everybody have a good month, and we hope to see you next month.